Alright, guys, I'm back. Long story short, I don't want to do too much fucking filler about this. Been busy, cousin's wedding, work. Whenever I got free time, I got lazy, didn't feel like making a fucking video. It's a short and easy, simple story of why I haven't been making videos lately. Um, and I just really wanted to make this video because this is going to be a review, borderline rant. Not too much of a rant, though. It's mostly going to be a review about a movie that I've seen recently. It's called Suburbia, and I found out that it came out, and I actually remember being a kid and seeing this movie in Blockbuster on the shelf on VHS, as well as in like Hollywood Video. I remember seeing like a copy of this movie, and the reason I never paid attention to it was, one, because I was a kid. Two, you know, I thought it would be. I thought it looked like, the cover of it looks like a comedy. It really does. It looks like a comedy. You wouldn't think, a movie like this would be a drama or like a fucked up story like it is. Because this is a fucked up movie. You look at the poster of the movie or the cover of it, the VHS box art, and you'll think, this looks like a Clerks or an American Pie or Van Wilder, or like a teen movie, early 20s movie. You don't really think like, this is gonna be like a deep, serious movie, because it just doesn't look like a deep, serious movie. But it just goes to show you like how the 90s, they could take something, serious, and try to, take something that's comedic and make it serious. Or they can like make a serious movie and you wouldn't even think it's serious, because that's the 90s was just like that. Not like today, where if you think something's serious, most likely is serious, or you think something's comedy, it's most likely comedy. This was an independent film. Let's see here. I forgot the guy who did it. Let me see. It was Eric something. Eric something. Yeah, it was written. The screenplay was written by this guy named Eric Bogosian. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. He basically made a play about this movie back in 1994, and he decided to pretty much make a movie out of it. And they basically got this guy named Richard Linklater. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right either, but he, both of them. The guy, the director of the movie, Richard Linklater, he actually made a lot of movies similar to this before this, called Dazed and Confused and Slacker. And Dazed and Confused, I actually heard a lot about. I know quite a few people talk about that movie, but I don't know. I just never was really a big fan of like a lot of the coming of age films. To me it was just like, oh, it's typical. It's a bunch of people who want to like get laid and stuff like that. It's usually get party wasted and shit like that. That's usually the coming of age film here in America. It's cliche, for lack of a better word. It's like you've seen it before. You've seen like, it's like those type of movies we've seen like a whole bunch of times. That's why I kind of like passed this up. But I recently saw this movie on YouTube. It was free, and I was just like, I was kind of like, what's this about? And I remember seeing when I saw the poster, I was like, yeah, I remember seeing this in Blockbuster. Like, but long story short, basically, watch the movie on YouTube. It's free. I might leave a link in the description if you want to check the movie out for yourself. That's if YouTube doesn't take it down, because YouTube might take it down. So if it's taken down, then. But basically, the movie is about, this group of friends. Um, this guy Jeff, who reminds me a lot of myself. He's basically they all live in the suburbs. They all live in this fictional small suburban town called Burnfield, right outside of Austin, Texas, and they they are all fucked up. Like, these kids are fucked up. Like, holy and that's one of the problems I have with the movies, because you always see, like, but this movie took it to the extreme. You always hear, like, a lot of kids from, like, these small towns in the suburbs, you know, they live in, like, a nice, safe area, laid back area, and they always bitch and complain about it, and they always want to move to, like, New York or Los Angeles or Chicago or one of these stupid, annoying, fucking overrated big ass cities. And that's the biggest problem I have with this movie, because this movie tries to shove that shit down your throat big time. And they always try to make it seem like, the suburbs are like this depressing wasteland, which they aren't. They're not. They're a late, like, seriously, man, seriously. I mean, I wish I grew up in the suburbs. Like, I wish I grew up in the suburbs. I swear to God, I wish I did. I would much rather grow up in the suburbs than New York City. It's much more quiet, laid back, for the most part. I mean, it's to me, it's the superior lifestyle. And if you've seen some of my past videos, I prefer, like, suburban areas, small towns, over the big city life any day of the week. But that's just gonna be a little bias here in this video, and that's just something that really pissed me off. Um, Everything else, I thought the movie was really good, because it talks about a lot of problems that you know people in their, like, teens and 20s go through and shit like that. They're always trying to, like, find a place in the world, and I am one of them. I am, like, seriously, I can relate to that a lot. But it's just annoying, because like, a lot of these kids, you try to relate to them, and the person I relate to the most in this movie is Jeff, because Jeff, he actually seems like a really nice guy. He seems like a cool guy who's just frustrated and, confused. He always questions life and stuff like that in the movie. But he seems like a really cool guy. He seems laid back. And he's bummed because his girlfriend wants to go to New York, because she got accepted to this art school in New York City, and she wants to go. And she's making, like, and she's like your typical fucking artsy chick who always wants to, like, talk down on, like, the small town that she came from. She's like, oh, and living in New York right now, you get a lot of those. You get a lot. You get a bunch of these people that, like, overrate the fuck out of this city. I hate when, like, they come from, like, a nice suburban area where it's laid back and shit and quiet and shit. And then they come to New York, like, oh my god, this place is so amazing. Like, oh my god, the trains here smell like shit. This is like an adventure. Oh my god, it sounds so fucking stupid. It's like, dude, these trains smell like shit. Why the fuck are you, like, smiling about it, thinking that this is a good thing? Like, seriously, man, and that's another. I don't want to get too personal about it, but that's another reason why I can't wait to move out of the city. I can't wait to save up and move out of New York once and for all. I swear, I'm never coming back. But it's that's one thing that really pissed me off about this movie. They always try to, in this movie, they try to paint the suburbs like it's this horrible place, like it's this bad place, and they try to make it look like it's this bad place. And I'm like, there's nothing about this place that looks bad. I mean, yeah, like, some of the houses look kind of like, not all that great and stuff like that. But, compared to others, there's some houses in this movie they show that look really nice. Some of them they're showing, like, construction, like how they build new housing, subdivisions and stuff like that. But it's like annoying, like how the writer who wrote the play in the first place, Eric Bogosian. I looked on Wikipedia, and I know Wikipedia is not the best place to get information, but we do we look at Wikipedia, so let's not fucking deny it. But I went to his Wikipedia page, and I found out that he used to live in Massachusetts, and he was he was basically, this film was basically depicting a lot of his experiences in the suburbs. I can honestly say that's probably because you're from Massachusetts, and that's a liberal town where people complain about everything. I'm telling you, when you live in like New York and you live in like the northern cities, especially the northeastern cities, you got people complaining about anything. Like, they'll literally take something that you can't complain about and complain about it for no reason. Because I don't know why. They're weird. It's another reason why I'm gonna move down south. I want to get the fuck out of the northeast, man. These people, like, they are weird as shit. And I've lived in New York, I've lived in Florida, and I can tell you, Florida fucking owns the shit out of New York. The only reason I didn't stay in Florida was because I basically had to live, I don't want to get too personal, but basically I had to live with my dad, and, we just, he's not a easy guy to live with. He's not, and I was just like, nah, I'd rather just move back to New York with my mom, just because I just couldn't stand living with him. Not because Florida was a bad place. Florida was awesome. I just didn't like living with my dad. But, this movie is really, really, it's really deep, because, you got Jeff, you got his girlfriend, Suze, which I think is short for Susan, or I don't know, Suzette or whatever. But they just call it, in the movie, they call her Suze. And you got this guy Tim, who's he tries to act like this hard ass, because he's been in the army. And he's a cool guy too, but at the end of the movie, he becomes fucked up. He tell he's an alcoholic. He's drinking like a mother. Man, he's shit. I mean, you could tell that motherfucker's depressed. But that guy is depressed simply because he's an alcoholic. They try to make it look like, oh, it's because he lives in the burbs and there's nothing to do. And that's like a lot of people, they always try to say, oh, well, he's depressed because he lives in the suburbs. No, it's not. He's depressed because he's a fucking alcoholic. All right? If he would have came to a big city like New York or Los Angeles or any other place, he would have still been an alcoholic. He still would have been depressed. He just looks like a fucked up person. I'm being honest here. All right? He looks like a fucked up person. And then you got this one a nice character I really like. She was basically a former alcoholic. She gets like barely any screen time in this movie, except for the minute. She's a blonde chick. I keep forgetting her name. Her fucking name. What's her name? Because she's actually it's Suze's friend, Bibi. Bibi, that's her name. She seems like a really cool chick. She's one of those chicks who, she's trying to give up alcohol. She went to AA. She's trying to quit, and she's a nurse's assistant at a hospital, and she basically talks to fucking Steve Zahn's character Buff, and he's a retard. He's like, that motherfucker is just crazy. That fucker is crazy. Oh my god, he's beyond Beavis and Butthead. Like, no, Beavis and Butthead, he's like the typical get wasted motherfucker who just doesn't give a shit. I'm not even gonna talk about Steve Zahn's character Buff, because there's nothing to talk about really. He's just a fucking crazy person. Spoiler alert. Yes, there are spoilers in here. He basically says that he's gonna move to Los Angeles with Pony, and that's one character I haven't gotten to yet. Pony. He's a pretty cool guy. He left Burnfield to become this rock musician. He's in a band and stuff like that. He's doing like opening gigs, and he comes back because his band is doing a show in Burnfield. So he's coming out with a limo, and he's got his publicist Erica. And he's just like, he's basically saying like how life in the city is overrated, like Los Angeles, and being a rock star is like, it's not as hyped up as everyone thinks it is. It's busy, it's a work schedule, and he's right, because I have a friend who's in a band, and it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of work. It's not easy. And people always want to overrate, like, how rock stars, they get to live the life and live laid back. No. I know a lot of metal bands who can't even do it. There's, like, Chimera, for example, one of my favorite bands. They're always on tour. There's a lot of bands who are always on tour, always trying, and especially in this day and age, because in the 2000s, in an era where people are overrating the shit out of pop music, dubstep, rap, hip hop, all this shitty music, all this, like, auto tune and whatnot, all this gay music, rock musicians actually have to step it up even more than we did back then, because if not, we'll be completely forgotten about. So rock and metal, we definitely have to step up because of how overrated all these shitty genres are. And it's not even good genres of music. No, they're shitty genres, shitty music that's being overrated because we live in this shitty era of the millennials. And the millennials fucking suck. And Generation X was better. I'll admit, Generation X was better than the fucking gas millennials. And that's a fact, not an opinion. But moving on, he basically talks about, how he has to, like, sign autographs, travel to different cities, all that good stuff. And, he actually admits that he likes being back in Burnfield because, I don't know if he's just trying to butter them up so they won't feel, like, envious or jealous of him. But he basically tries to kiss their ass and say, I like you guys are real, And later on in the movie, when he's alone with Suze, he's basically saying, like, I can't believe you still live here. So I don't know if Pony is a two-face or not. He seemed like a cool guy until, like, the end of the film when he's in the limo. Watch the movie for yourself, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But he just, I don't know, something about him is kind of off to me, and he just seems kind of like one of those undercover douchebags. But, watch the movie for yourself. You can judge him for yourself. But basically, Jeff and BB are, like, my favorite characters in this movie. Simply because BB is so underrated. And she seems like, a nice, shy, introverted type girl who's lonely, who wants to, like, make friends and stuff like that. And, you got Jeff, who's just, honest. He's just real. He's just frustrated, and to me, those are the two likable characters. All the other characters in this movie are just like, nah, they're not really that likable. But that's just my opinion. But it's a deep movie. It's a really, and they talk about a lot of issues. And another guy, he's forgettable simply because he's just a pretentious, annoying immigrant. I mean, he's not that he deserves the shit that he goes through with Tim. Tim is a total dick to him. He's a total dick to him. But this, I've seen some reviews, and I've seen some reviews on, like, Amazon and fucking Rotten Tomatoes, and they all, like, praise this guy. It's, Nazir, just played by AJ Nadeau. But he doesn't do anything in the film. He's just a fucking clerk there at this fake 7-Eleven. I mean, he doesn't, like, he tells him, like, oh, you should be thankful, grateful, and it's just like, dude, like, I can see, I have sympathy for his character because of the shit Tim puts him through, and they keep fucking hanging around his store and shit like that, loitering. But I don't see him as a great character. I mean, he's just a foreign immigrant clerk. I mean, what's so great about him as a character? But, I mean, this movie, it gives me mixed emotions because at one point in time, it's like every actor does a great job in this movie. Every actor, actress, female actor, does a great job in this movie. It's very realistic. It's a very realistic movie. It's not like a, teen comedy like Clerks or American Pie or Van Wilder. It's very real. It's like a real life movie. I like movies like this And I like movies like Mean Creek because they just, those type of movies, and even, I know I've said this before, I hate realistic movies. Well, I hate realistic movies when it comes to like comic book movies and action movies. When you try to do those type of movies realistic, they look stupid. But when you try to do like drama movies, then yeah, those should be realistic. I mean, you can't have an unrealistic drama. To me, that's stupid. And this movie is a perfect example of like a movie that should be realistic. As with Mean Creek, that another great movie I might review one day. But I have mixed emotions about this movie because I think it's good. I think it's a solid movie. It's well acted, well performed. Talks about a lot of issues. But I hate the movie because it tries. I hate the movie because it tries to make the suburbs look like it's this horrible place, which is not true. And there are a lot of happy people in the suburbs. The people who are depressed in the suburbs are like a very minority. People live in the suburbs, move to the suburbs because they want a more peaceful, quiet, laid back lifestyle. I mean, this whole shit about people wanting to move to the big city, that's like, there's like a lot of people who try to like pull that shit off. They say like, oh, the suburbs are gonna die out. There was even an article on Google, because I'm basically I was Googling some shit, and people are talking about how the suburbs are gonna die and the cities are gonna take over and shit like that. That's bullshit. That's never gonna happen. That's simply not gonna happen because, barely anyone in this fucking country is a social loving faggot of a person. Not everybody's gonna want to live in a big city where there's noise all the time and everyone wants to talk to each other, or all this shit. Everybody wants to deal with dumb shit. That's not gonna happen. If anything, the suburbs and rural are just, in my opinion, superior. I prefer the suburbs simply because suburbs have more amenities. There's more like shops and food and places to get your hair cut and shit like that. Anything like all that stuff. But to me, it's just like annoying because like how like and at the end of this movie they use this is a great 90s band, Sonic Youth. They use their song Sunday, and they like at the end of the movie goes out. I don't want to put too many spoilers in it, but end of the movie is fucked up. It's very sour. The movie ends on a sour note. It's a depressing sour note. And the music that they play when they're showing like different parts of this suburban area, Burnfield, which looks like a nice place to live. All right, it looks fucking awesome. But they try to make it look like it's this depressing area with that that Sunday song from Sonic Youth. And they try to make it look like, oh my god, this place is so horrible. Get out. Don't move here. That's bullshit. You tell motherfuckers are just spoiled and shit. Don't have no taste. All right, because these are the same motherfuckers that would rather live in a place that smells like shit. Live in New York City, right? Shitty, smelly subways, overcrowded pile of shit faggot. Fuck New York. Like, seriously, this is the part I have to rant on, man. I hate people who come from like these nice small towns, these nice suburban areas, and all of a sudden they start hating it just because they think they get mind manipulated into the machine that is New York and Los Angeles and the urban America, and they think it's so great because there's so many of these stupid, shitty ass big buildings, fucking overcrowded buses, overcrowded trains and shit. It's fucking stupid. Just, oh my god, I hate people like that. It's like, I mean, Jesus Christ, I swear, I can't wait to get out of this fucking city. Like, Burnfield looks like a place I would want to move to be honest with you. That place looks like a fucking awesome place that I would actually want to live in. And they're trying to paint it like it's fucking Gotham City or something. Or like it's the fucking hood or something. It's like it's this bad place. No, it's not. Alright? You always get like these suburbanites and stuff like that who want to move to the city, always saying shit like, oh my god, every house looks the same. No, not every fucking house looks the same, first of all. And you get some people, and this is another thing in this movie. aside from the limo that Pony shows up in, and aside from whatchamacallit, that van, you know, there's not a lot of driving in this movie. Aside from, people, Jeff himself, he walks from the woods. He walks from the woods, like when he leaves, he tries to get out of Pony's limo, and he takes a piss, and he leaves, he walks through the woods, and then he ends up back at this 7-Eleven place that they hang out at. And he walks all the way there. And it's like, dude, these motherfuckers, like, you can walk in the suburbs. It's not, like, granted, there are some suburban areas where you do need a car. That's true. But there are some areas you don't even need to walk to. And this is a fact. Because I lived in a suburban part of Tampa Bay, Florida. And where I was living in, the place I was living in, you could walk to Walmart. You could walk to Gold's Gym. You could walk to GameStop. You could walk to a bunch of places. Publix, Albertsons. You could walk to these places. I mean, it's not like you need a car in certain suburban areas. And even up here in New York, like in Westchester, like, well, I don't consider Yonkers or Westchester County to really be suburban. A lot of people consider it suburban. I kind of, it's still too much of a city for me. But if you want to count that, if you want to count Yonkers or like Scarsdale or certain parts of Westchester County as the suburbs, then yeah, you could walk in those areas too. You don't need a car in a lot of those areas. I know plenty of people in Yonkers alone who do not drive, who literally either walk or take the bus. I have a coworker who actually, where I work, she walks from her house to our job. So it's like a lot of stereotypes that, oh, when you live in the suburbs, you need a car and stuff like that. Not always the case. I mean, it's better to have a car, yes. But it's not always, people always want to always talk shit about the suburbs. And it pisses me off because people overrate the city like no fucking tomorrow. And that pisses me the fuck off. I'm like, how the fuck are you gonna overrate some ghetto, urban, concrete piece of shit with smelly trains, smelly buses, and then you're gonna praise you're gonna praise that city over the suburbs, and you're gonna bash the suburbs, and a nicer area where it's much more quiet, much more laid back, there's less crime on average. Yeah, I know there are school shootings stuff now, but I mean, let's be honest here. There's less crime in the suburbs. There's less crime in like small towns compared to the city. That's true. That's just a fact. Look at the statistics. But I'm not saying that the suburbs is perfect, but it's compared to the city, it's perfect. No place is perfect, but I mean, Jesus Christ, you motherfuckers act like the suburbs, or suburbia, all these subdivisions are like a horrible thing and shit. That's what really pisses me off about this movie. That's what really pisses me off about the writer of this movie, Eric Bogosian. And a lot of these fucking over-liberalized faggots who want to always talk shit about suburban areas and, praise the city like it's this great adventure. It's so full of life, as they say, and shit like that. I'm like, fuck you. Jesus, the suburbs are better. Go fuck yourselves. That's my review on Suburbia, though. If you like it or you think you might like the movie, check it out. Rate, comment, subscribe, whatever, all that good shit. And later.